cyber frauds, digital frauds. Amit is with us. Amit, it's an important story we're tracking this morning in newspapers. Basically going on to suggest that government would be cracking down on digital frauds that have gone to an all-time high.
Yeah, and cracking down in more ways than one. Now, digital frauds have not just gone up, they've gone up 300% from 2017 when it was around 3,466 cases to 2021 when it was 14,007 cases. Between March and April, they have remained more or less the same at around 300 crores, the amount of frauds. Now, what the government is doing is one, they are planning to basically set up security operation centers to basically take stock and across banks of cybercrime cases. They are planning to set up phishing and wishing simulation exercises.
Okay,
to
that's
basically
a very fancy word. What does it mean?
Phishing is basically refers to emails that come to you. Wishing is the calls that come to you, the missed calls, and sometimes they continuous solicitation of basically giving information, taking out information from customers. Then there is now a new focus on cloud security. Most of the information now is in the sense in the last few years has been stored in cloud computing methods. So there is focus on that. There's going to be a review of fraud risk management solutions over time, again and again. That is one of the things they're doing. There's going to be a wider, it was noticed that NBFCs and urban cooperative banks were seeing more cyber frauds. So there's going to be an on-site IT examinations of NBFCs and urban cooperative banks separately. Also, the government is going to be working with the likes of Google and Apple to improve methods of mobile security, because most of the transactions in time with digitization, these are customer end solutions. Customers are doing with their mobile phones and not on teller machines or on ATMs or in the banks themselves. So these are broadly what the government plans to do in the times to come.
Okay. Digital frauds is a more, I think it's more of a reality than any other aspect of life that we have to deal with, any other issue that we have to deal with every other day. And we in fact have tracked it in multiple ways. So from a UPI fraud to a fraud when you get a call to somebody coming at your doorstep, Karthik, which is when it gets all the more real, asking for an OTP and in process withdrawing a lump sum from your bank account. Obviously attempts have to be made, but so far from what we are looking at, there's not been a concerted approach by the government. Every here and there, we hear of one company or the other, one bank or the other trying to take some measures to ensure that their customers are safe. But with this, there seems to be some awakening to the massive problem that we're dealing with.
So, Shweta, I think you're right. There hasn't been a concerted effort, but there have been these little nuggets of effort that have been visible for the last 1 year or so. So, for example, the RBI data that released about a month ago, it clearly suggested that in the last financial year, the total volume as well as value of financial frauds had reduced, bank frauds had reduced drastically. Right. The report also suggested, the numbers in fact also pointed to the fact that the number of such transactions seem to be fairly high when it comes to private banks, whereas the volume seems to be higher in the case of public banks. Now, remember last week TRAI had also come with this notification to telcos that let's deploy artificial intelligence and machine learning to identify patterns in financial frauds and attack those patterns. Once you're able to attack those patterns, it becomes easier to mitigate the whole problem at its core. In addition to that, now what Amit was mentioning, that partnering with the telephone operators, with the software providers, including Apple and Android, Google and Apple in this case, to be able to identify, what are those mysterious links or what are those sources where financial frauds, the fountainhead for those financial frauds So overall, you're seeing there has been this jigsaw puzzle of financial frauds where little pieces are getting added every now and then. I agree with you. There hasn't been a concerted effort, and I think that needs to be taken up where all these agencies work in tandem, whether it is RBI, whether it is TRAI, whether it is METI, whether it is Ministry of Finance, Law Ministry. All these bodies, nodal agencies, need to work together and have a very clear formulated plan to deal with financial frauds. That hasn't happened yet. I mean, it's easy for a machine to identify a pattern of, let's say, an embedded link which takes you to a phishing sort of a net, right? But in the absence of somebody being able to attack emergence of those patterns, new patterns will come up every day, and it'll be difficult even for a machine to keep learning and keep implementing and keep learning and keep implementing. So that, and second, of course, very clear penal action. I mean, we have seen Jamtara, we have seen Nu, we have seen these hotbeds of financial fraud, and all of them operating at state borders, where jurisdiction ends if you walk 1 kilometer or cycle down 1 kilometer onto the other side of the border. So jurisdiction on financial frauds also needs to be taken up centrally rather than keeping it a state subject. And that is going to enable at least getting after these hubs of financial fraud with more agility and with greater efficiency, and then overall this concerted effort of using technology and using banks and protecting data that leaks out from banking channels, from telecos, from retail outlets, and from all these leakages of data need to be plugged at one end, and then of course technology needs to be the next layer on top, and a centralized jurisdiction to be able to attack these hubs of financial frauds as and when they emerge.
Okay, Krishna is joining us at this point in time. Krishna, good morning to you. I think important suggestions there by Karthik, and some of which I completely agree with. I feel all these agencies are working in silos at the moment. So you have an RBI talking about financial frauds, then you have METI talking about, the ministry talking about it, then you have TRAI saying we're going to crack down on pesky calls, giving some directions to telecom operators to ensure that there is semblance, there is some sort of relief to people. But working in silos is not going to help the end user. So perhaps need for a concerted effort by all these stakeholders to ensure, or at least signal to people out there, that we are making an attempt to crack down on digital frauds.
Right. We're having this conversation, Shweta, at a time when the Delhi police has just busted the international cybercrime syndicate in association with the FBI and Interpol. 4 people have been arrested. As we have in this conversation, a huge international cybercrime syndicate has been busted in India's national capital, and there have been enough and more warnings about how the number of cybercrimes in this country is only set to go up further, even as we continue to digitize more and more every aspect of our lives and our work. So I completely agree with Karthik when he says that so far you have the Telecom Regulatory Authority, the Telecommunications Department doing what they're doing, and then you have other departments doing what they're doing. You really need a concerted effort to ensure that, because the internet, your mobile, your phone calls, your emails are all interlinked. Your social media, everything is interlinked. And how can you have 5 different departments taking care of 5 different things? You need to have that one cybercrime department that sort of puts its foot into all kinds of technologies possible, including artificial intelligence, which enable these people to commit cybercrimes, these gangs to commit cybercrimes. So in that sense, there is absolutely no doubt that you need to have a central nodal agency, because that agency will also have to coordinate with law enforcement, depending upon where cybercrime is happening, the police, the local administration. So there is enough and more trouble even when you have a central nodal agency, because the cybercrime gets committed in cyberspace. But the people live in a physical space in a particular city or a particular town, and then you need a police from that city or town to go arrest those people. So even when you have a central nodal agency, you have to have enough and more coordination with local law enforcement authorities. So goes without saying that let's begin with a central nodal agency, and then probably train our police force better when it comes to cracking cybercrimes.
Okay, interesting suggestions there. Yes, Amit, you wanted to come in.
No, cybercrimes is bigger here. Just the cyber financial crimes, the number of cases registered with the National Crime Records Bureau in April were 1,76,000, which amounting to 273 crores 1 month. In the month of March, it was 2,25,000. That's how big the problem is. So it's high time that these broad kind of laws are coming to basically take care of it. And there's just cyber financial crime. Cybercrime, intellectual property is a much bigger issue.
Absolutely, but cyber financial crime is more so a reality for each one of us. I think at one point or the other in the last 1 month that we've been discussing this menace, all of us, either us or our family members, have seen some sort of financial cyber crimes happening on a daily basis. I think interesting, important suggestions. I hope government is watching, somebody in the government is watching right now this bulletin. Some very interesting suggestions made by my colleagues here. And Krishna, they're talking about a central nodal agency. If at all that becomes a reality, perhaps there could be some sort of relief for people in days and weeks or months to come ahead. But as of now, all we have is government cracking down on cyber frauds with help of AI, machine learning, and ensuring that there is more compliance for the law that exists.